the government
Right and relative might. Okay, fair enough. Let me bring in Dr. Anand Ranganathan on this. Dr. Anand Ranganathan, look, we've got a large number of governments today that are in conflict with big tech. You want to call it big tech, you want to call them big social media platforms, what have you. But there is a huge degree of opacity and moral relativism that is exercised by these platforms. I know you're a free speech absolutist, but let's just talk about the principle here of being bigger than any law, being unaccountable, largely unaccountable to any government or any ethos.
Yes, good evening, Rahul. You know, it's as simple as that. A social media platform cannot, repeat, cannot censor, ban, adjudicate, publish, alter, or editorialize. As simple as that. I have no issues when it remains a platform and disseminates news and information, i.e. does not control what trains come and go. But that's not the case anymore, is it? These platforms heavily editorialize news, censor what they please, ban what they don't like. And these are all subjective decisions based on ideology and political preferences. Any social media platform operating in India should have just one rule. Anything you post here is subject to Indian laws and can be acted upon never by us but by Indian courts, unquote. Anything more, Rahul, is an instrument of control and prone to bias. It's that simple. Look, our constitution doesn't guarantee absolute freedom of expression. I understand that. It has spawned laws that are draconian and subjective and tailor-made to misuse. But in the scenario that a platform doesn't conform to absolute freedom of expression, the monopoly of bias in a democracy should rest with the constitution, not the platform. I'd much rather a judge ban me than a platform. Facebook or Twitter cannot decide or editorialize. They should be just platforms. In fact, they were all platforms initially when they sucked in consumers. Once they trapped consumers, they kept on changing and adding terms and rules, and now they are a law unto themselves. What services like Facebook and Twitter do is, because of their first mover advantage, they suck in consumers attracted by minimum terms and rules. And very soon, the terms and rules keep on changing and increasing. But the consumer is trapped, especially because Twitter and Facebook are interactive services that help build a brand, for example, of a company or a politician or even government, unlike a network provider that can be easily dumped for an alternative through portability. Changing terms and rules are attracting consumers is entrapment and can be unfair trade practice. This is over and above the public good that a platform service provider is supposed to do to make unknown marginalized voices be heard, free of religious other suppression. Rahul, please give me 30 seconds. If the Indian state, legislature and judiciary is serious on tackling Facebook and Twitter censorship, it should insist that these services should revert to being just a platform with no editorializing or censoring whatsoever. The threat of censorship is worse than censorship itself, for it is better to be blind than to be looking constantly over your shoulder. The Indian courts must step in and restore the sanctity of freedom of speech. They must step in and restore Facebook and Twitter to just being platforms.
Dr. Anand Ranganathan, Latvian's leftist lobby, pseudo-leftist lobby, pseudo-secular lobby in this country that gets an amplified positioning on Twitter, of course, will disagree. But give us 5 reasons why you think that Twitter, according to some, is a hate tube against the right, especially here in India.
Yeah. Yes, Rahul, you know, the order to remove the liability shield hitherto enjoyed by social media companies if they censor content is a really welcome step. I really welcome it. You know, Rahul, if I can delve a little bit philosophically into this whole thesis, we are living in a world where you believe what you see, but unfortunately what you see is written by those who see what they believe. Objectivity has become that metallic object that must be left behind before you pass through the electronic threshold. The biases don't beep anymore. And Twitter is but an extension of the modern, deeply polarized society. This isn't objectionable, because polarization means you have a clash of ideas, that there is competition among them. And so it mirrors Darwinian evolution. Science, religion, capitalism, communism, left wing, right wing, Modi, Rahul. There's nothing wrong in professing diametrically opposite likes and views, even if you hold entrenched views. But the problem comes when one party, one ideology, one dogma, one system controls the discourse or weighs in on it. That's where you stop being a platform and start to editorialize and play God, which is what Twitter did when it screened Trump's tweets for flagging fake news or fact checking. Because knowing Twitter, even selecting what to flag, what not to, is a subjective decision, much like taking offense or an abuse or appreciating or condemning an idea. Let me give you one example, Rahul. Please give me 30 seconds. In fact, let me test my fellow panelists. Let's say I tweet, the earth was formed in 6 days and the man created from black mud. Now science tells us that this is a total lie.
So should Twitter flag it as fake and withhold my tweet? But these are verses from the Holy Book, chapter 7, 54, chapter 15, verse 26. What if the fact checker adjudicating on my tweets was deeply religious and believed my tweet to be true? Would he disregard science and pass on my tweet? Or what if he was an atheist or a scientist like me? Would he flag my tweet and ask for it to be deleted? Bottom line is, any platform enabling a discourse cannot play God or atheist, because it becomes an echo chamber then. And if it does, and that's where the diversity ends, mutation stalls, mixing is prevented, and evolution shut down. The best way to kill learning, Rahul, is to learn only one thing.